The massive ships appeared without warning above Earth's blue skies. General Kriegstall stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked down at the small planet below. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he counted the hundreds of warships in his fleet. The Zephyrian Empire had sent their best to claim this new world. Sub-Commander Veltar, what do you see when you scan this pathetic little planet? Kriegstall asked his second-in-command. Veltar checked his instruments and shook his head. General, their technology is laughable. They still use chemical rockets to reach space. Their biggest weapons are crude nuclear bombs. Their warships are tiny metal boxes with simple engines. Kriegstall laughed so hard that his whole body shook. His laughter echoed through the bridge as other officers joined in. 47 worlds we have conquered, and each one had better defenses than this. I almost feel sorry for these creatures. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the EDF Valiant and watched the alien fleet through his view screen. Sweat ran down his face as he counted the enemy ships. There were more alien vessels than Earth had ever built in total. Sir, we're getting a transmission from the lead ship, reported his communications officer. Put it on screen, Jake ordered. The view screen flickered and showed General Kriegstall's face. The alien looked like a tall lizard walking on two legs with golden scales and sharp teeth. His voice was deep and full of mockery. Humans of Earth, I am General Kriegstall of the Zephyrian 7th Conquest Fleet. You have 72 of your hours to surrender completely. Lay down your weapons. Open your cities. Submit to the Empire. Do this and we will make your deaths quick. Commander Lisa Hayes stepped forward. General, we request a meeting to discuss terms. Surely we can find a peaceful solution. Kriegstall's laughter filled the bridge again. Terms? You want to bargain with us? Look around you, little human. Count our ships. Feel the power of our weapons. You have nothing to offer except your surrender. We will not surrender without a fight, Jake said firmly. A fight? Kriegstall wiped tears from his eyes. You call what you can do a fight? Your entire planet's military could not destroy one of our smallest ships. But please try to resist. It will make our victory more entertaining. The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his crew in silence. Lisa walked over to the tactical display showing the alien fleet. They're keeping a high orbit, she observed. Almost like they're giving us time to think about surrender. Or like they don't see us as a real threat, Jake replied grimly. Across Earth, similar scenes played out in military bases and government buildings. President Claire Patterson sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors. General Pete Collins pounded his fist on the table. We should hit them with everything we have right now, he declared. Launch every nuclear missile while they're still bunched together. Admiral Kate Sullivan shook her head. Our missiles would never penetrate their shields. We need to be smart about this. What do you suggest? The president asked. We've been preparing for first contact for decades. We have contingency plans. We know more about space warfare than they think we do. Dr. Helen Carter, the head of Earth's xenobiology program, spoke up. I've been studying the transmission. Their body language, their speech patterns. These aliens value strength and honor above everything else. They see us as weak because we asked to negotiate. So we're dealing with space bullies, President Patterson said. Exactly. But bullies can be beaten if you know their weaknesses. High above Earth, General Kriegstall walked through his ship's corridors. Younger officers bowed as he passed. He felt proud of his perfect record. Every world he had conquered fell within days. Most surrendered after seeing his fleet's power. General, the humans are moving their ships, Veltar reported as Kriegstall returned to the bridge. All of them? Kriegstall asked with amusement. Every vessel they have. Perhaps 50 ships total. Kriegstall laughed again. 50 ships against our 600. They truly are as stupid as they are weak. What are they doing? Forming a defensive line between us and their planet. It appears they mean to protect their homeworld. How touching. Very well, let them come. We will destroy their entire fleet in one battle and end this farce. But Kriegstall did not know about the hidden bases on Earth's moon. He did not know about the research facilities buried deep underground. He had no idea that humans had been studying crashed alien scout ships for 20 years, learning their technologies and preparing for this day. Colonel Ryan Burke stood in a secret command center built inside a mountain. Banks of computers around him showed every movement of the alien fleet. His team had been tracking Zephyrian ships for months as they approached Earth. Have we learned anything new from their scans? He asked his chief scientist. Their shields pulse at regular intervals. There's a brief moment of weakness every few seconds. Their energy weapons also have a cooldown period between shots. Good. What about their formation? They're spread out in a standard conquest pattern. They expect us to bunch up and try to ram them like desperate animals. Ryan smiled coldly. Then let's give them what they expect. At first. On the bridge of the Valiant, Jake received new orders from Earth Command. His mission was simple: engage the enemy fleet directly and hold their attention. It seemed like a suicide mission, but Jake trusted the plan. All ships, this is Captain Morrison. We know the odds. We know what we're facing. But we also know something these aliens don't. They think they're fighting scared animals. They're wrong. They're fighting humans, and humans never give up. The Earth fleet moved forward slowly, their engines glowing blue in the darkness of space. Behind them, their home planet turned peacefully, unaware that its fate was about to be decided in the cold void above. General Krixtal watched the approaching human ships with growing amusement. Look at them crawl toward us. Do they think moving slowly will help them? Sub-Commander, prepare all weapons. Let us end this quickly and move on to more interesting conquests. Yes, General. All batteries report ready to fire. Excellent. Target their lead ships first. We want the others to see their friends die before they join them. The distance between the two fleets grew smaller. Human crews said prayers and checked their weapons one last time. Alien gunners aimed their massive energy cannons with casual confidence. Neither side knew that this battle would change everything. Not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. In those final moments before the first shots were fired, General Krixtal felt completely certain of victory. After all, what could these primitive humans possibly do against the might of the Zephyrian Empire? Soon he would learn the answer to that question, and it would shock him to his very core. The first alien energy blast lit up space like a green sun. Captain Jake Morrison watched from his bridge as the beam struck the EDF Courage and turned the ship into glowing metal vapor in less than a second. 23 good people died in that instant, but Jake did not have time to mourn them. All ships, execute pattern Delta, he ordered into his communicator. The human fleet scattered in all directions like leaves blown by wind. General Krixtal frowned as he watched the strange movement from his command ship. What are they doing? He asked Sub-Commander Veltar. I am not sure, General. This is not a normal attack formation. They seem to be running away but also moving toward us at the same time. Krixtal shrugged. Desperate creatures do desperate things. Continue firing. Destroy them all. But the human ships were not running away. They were following a plan that had been practiced hundreds of times in secret training missions. Each ship moved to a specific position, creating a web of movement that confused the alien targeting systems. The Zephyrian gunners found it hard to hit targets that kept changing direction so quickly. Their massive energy cannons were designed to destroy large, slow-moving battleships, not small, fast vessels that danced around like angry insects. Commander Lisa Hayes piloted her ship, the EDF Liberty, through a series of sharp turns that would have knocked out a normal human crew. But her people had trained for years in high-gravity chambers, preparing their bodies for exactly this kind of combat. Target their shield generators, she called to her weapons officer. Fire everything we have. The Liberty's missiles struck the alien ship's shields and exploded in brilliant flashes. The shields held, but Lisa's instruments detected the brief moment of weakness that Earth scientists had predicted. There it is, she said with satisfaction. Just like they said. Mark, did you record that? Her tactical officer nodded. Got it. Shield pulse duration is exactly 0.3 seconds, just like our intelligence suggested. Across the battle zone, other human ships were making similar discoveries. They were not trying to win this first battle. They were learning everything they could about their enemies while staying alive long enough to report back. General Krixtal grew increasingly frustrated as the minutes passed. His ships had destroyed 6 human vessels, but the rest kept avoiding his weapons with impossible skill. Worse, the humans were actually shooting back now, and their weapons seemed to be finding weak spots in Zephyrian defenses. How are they doing this? He demanded. Their technology is primitive. Their ships are tiny. They should all be dead by now. Veltar studied his tactical displays with growing concern. General, I believe they have been studying our technology. Their attacks are too precise to be random. Impossible. We have never encountered these creatures before today. Perhaps not directly. But what about the scout ships we sent to survey this system? 3 of them never reported back. Krixtal's eyes widened as he realized what his subordinate was suggesting. You think they captured our scouts and learned from them? It would explain their unusual tactics and their knowledge of our shield frequencies. On Earth, President Claire Patterson watched the battle through satellite feeds in the White House Situation Room. The images were terrible to see. Human ships exploded one after another, but they were taking longer to die than expected. "How many have we lost?" she asked quietly. General Pete Collins checked his reports. 14 ships destroyed, but the rest are still fighting. More importantly, they're gathering the intelligence we need. Admiral Kate Sullivan pointed to a tactical display showing the battle from above. "Look at their formation. The aliens are keeping their ships in a tight group. They're not used to fighting opponents who can move this fast." Dr. Helen Carter had been studying video of General Krixtal during the battle. "He's getting angry. See how his body language has changed? Zephyrians don't handle surprises well. They expect quick, easy victories. Can we use that against them?" the president asked. "Absolutely. If we can keep frustrating them, they'll start making mistakes." Back in space, Captain Jake Morrison was learning this lesson firsthand. His ship had taken several hits and his shields were failing, but he had noticed something interesting about the alien attack patterns. "Lisa, are you seeing this?" he asked over the communication link. The pause between their volleys. "Yes, I'm timing it. Exactly 2.8 seconds, that's their weakness. They can't fire continuously. If we time our attacks right, we can hit them during their reload period." Commander Lisa Hayes immediately began coordinating with the other surviving human ships. They had lost half their fleet, but the remaining vessels were now working together like parts of a single machine. "All ships, synchronized attack on my mark," she broadcasted. "Wait for the reload gap, then everything we have at target Alpha." The human ships waited with perfect timing. The moment the alien weapons stopped firing, every human vessel launched missiles at the same enemy ship. The combined firepower overwhelmed the target's shields and punched through its armor. The alien ship erupted in a ball of fire and debris. General Krixtal stared in shock as he watched one of his vessels die. In 47 conquests, he had never lost a single ship. These humans had just destroyed a Zephyrian warship with their primitive weapons. "Impossible," he whispered. But it was not impossible. It was just the beginning. Dr. Helen Carter was right about Zephyrian psychology. General Krixtal's anger made him sloppy. He ordered his ships to break formation and chase the human vessels individually. This gave the humans exactly what they wanted: isolated targets they could attack one at a time. The battle continued for 3 more hours. When it finally ended, Earth had lost 32 ships out of 50. But they had also destroyed 4 Zephyrian vessels and damaged dozens more. Most importantly, they had learned that the aliens could be beaten. As the surviving human ships limped back toward Earth, General Krixtal stood alone on his bridge. His perfect record was broken. His easy conquest had turned into a real fight. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. "General, your orders?" Veltar asked carefully. Krixtal looked down at the blue planet below. It looked so peaceful, so harmless. But appearances were deceiving. These humans were not the weak prey he had expected. "Begin orbital bombardment of their major cities," he commanded. "If they want to fight, we will show them the true power of the Zephyrian Empire." But even as he gave the order, Krixtal wondered if he was making another mistake. These creatures had already surprised him once. What other secrets might they be hiding? On Earth, the survivors of the first battle were already sharing what they had learned. Engineers worked around the clock to modify human weapons based on the new intelligence. Scientists analyzed every piece of alien debris they could find. Colonel Ryan Burke stood in his underground command center and smiled grimly as he read the battle reports. The first phase of Earth's defense had worked exactly as planned. The aliens thought they had won a great victory by destroying most of Earth's fleet. They had no idea that the real war was just beginning. President Patterson addressed the world that evening, speaking to billions of frightened people who had watched their defenders die in space. "Today, we learned that we are not alone in the universe," she said calmly. "We also learned that we can fight. We lost good people today, but their sacrifice was not in vain. They showed us that these aliens can be defeated. They showed us that humanity will not go quietly into the night." High above, General Krixtal prepared his bombardment ships, unaware that his easy conquest was about to become the hardest battle of his life. 3 weeks had passed since General Krixtal began bombarding Earth's cities, and nothing was going according to plan. The human planet should have surrendered by now. Instead, the attack seemed to make these strange creatures fight even harder. "Report," Krikstal demanded as he entered his bridge. Sub-Commander Veltar looked uncomfortable. "General, we have destroyed New York, London, and Tokyo as ordered. But the humans are not surrendering. They are spreading out into smaller groups and attacking our supply ships." Krikstal's claws scraped against the metal railing. "Supply ships? How are they reaching our supply ships? They seem to have hidden bases throughout their solar system. Small groups of human vessels keep appearing from nowhere, hitting our cargo ships and disappearing again." This was exactly what Colonel Ryan Burke had planned. While the aliens focused on bombing Earth's major cities, humanity's real military had gone underground and spread throughout the solar system. Hidden bases on asteroids, moons, and even inside comets were launching coordinated strikes against Zephyrian weak points. Commander Lisa Hayes now led these shadow operations from a secret base built inside an asteroid near Mars. Her new ship, the EDF Revenge, was twice the size of her old vessel and armed with weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology. "Target acquired," her tactical officer reported. "Zephyrian supply convoy, 3 ships, minimal escort." "Perfect," Lisa said. "Remember, we want to capture one of their ships intact if possible. We need to learn more about their technology." The attack was swift and precise. Human ships emerged from behind the asteroid's bulk and struck the alien convoy with perfectly timed missile salvos. 2 Zephyrian cargo ships exploded, but the third was disabled by specially designed electromagnetic pulse weapons. "Boarding teams," Code Lisa ordered. Captain Jake Morrison, now recovered from his injuries in the first battle, led a team of Marines onto the captured alien ship. The Zephyrian crew fought bravely, but they were not prepared for humans in combat armor wielding weapons designed specifically to penetrate alien defenses. "Ship secured," Jake reported 20 minutes later. "We have prisoners and a complete cargo manifest." This ship was carrying shield generators and food supplies. Lisa smiled coldly. "Excellent. Let's see how well they fight when they're hungry and their shields start failing." But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Helen Carter had been studying captured Zephyrian soldiers and made a disturbing discovery about alien psychology. "They're not just warriors," she explained to President Patterson during a secure video call. "They're warriors who have never really been tested. Every species they've conquered gave up quickly. They have no experience with long, difficult wars. What does that mean for us?" the president asked. "It means they're psychologically unprepared for what we're doing to them. Every day we keep fighting damages their confidence and unit morale." This intelligence led to a new strategy. Instead of trying to win big battles, Earth's forces began focusing on psychological warfare. They attacked at unpredictable times and places, always retreating before the aliens could respond with overwhelming force. Major Sam Collins led one of the most successful operations. His team infiltrated a Zephyrian communication station and began broadcasting messages throughout the alien fleet. "Attention Zephyrian warriors." His transmission began in perfect alien language. "You came here expecting easy prey, but you found something else. You found humans. Every day you remain in our system, more of your ships will die. Every night you sleep, you will wonder if morning will come. This is not conquest. This is war." General Krikstal listened to these broadcasts with growing rage and frustration. His officers were beginning to question his leadership. Some had even suggested retreating and calling for reinforcements. "Retreat?" Krikstal roared at a staff meeting. "The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat from primitive savages. We will crush these humans completely." But privately, Krikstal was beginning to worry. His forces had been in this system for 3 weeks and had made no real progress. The humans seemed to be everywhere at once. Worse, they were learning and adapting faster than he had thought possible. The aliens' next shock came when they encountered Earth's new generation of warships. Admiral Kate Sullivan had spent those 3 weeks overseeing the construction of vessels that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. Her flagship, the UES Defiance, was a marvel of hybrid design. It used Zephyrian shield generators powered by human fusion reactors, alien weapons controlled by human computer systems, and armor that combined the best materials from both species. "General, we have a problem," Veltar reported urgently. "Long-range sensors are detecting a new human fleet approaching our position." Krikstal looked at the tactical display and felt his heart skip a beat. These new human ships were larger than anything Earth had built before. and they were moving with the confidence of experienced warriors. "How many ships?" he asked. 43 vessels, all of unknown design. They appear to be broadcasting a message. Let me hear it." Admiral Sullivan's voice filled the alien bridge with calm authority. "General Crickstall, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the United Earth Space Force. You have made a mistake coming to our system. We offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and leave peacefully." Crickstall laughed, but it sounded forced even to his own ears. "Withdraw? From humans? Never. Then you have chosen to learn why humans are the most dangerous species in this galaxy." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Zephyrians had experienced. The new human ships fought with tactics that seemed impossible. They worked together like a single organism, supporting each other and covering weaknesses with perfect coordination. Commander Lisa Hayes led a squadron of fighters in an attack that would have been suicide against any normal opponent. Her ships dove directly at the alien formation, firing everything they had, then scattered in all directions before the enemy could respond. "Pattern Omega," she called to her pilots. "Make them dizzy." The human fighters began flying in spirals around the alien ships, moving too fast for the big Zephyrian guns to track. It was like trying to swat flies with hammers. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison used the confusion to lead a strike force directly at General Crickstall's flagship. His ship, the EDF Retribution, had been built for this specific mission. "All weapons, target their command bridge," Jake ordered. The concentrated fire from Jake's squadron punched through the flagship's shields and ripped holes in its armor. Crickstall felt his ship shake as explosions echoed through the corridors. "Damage report," he demanded. "Shield generators offline," Veltar reported. "Main weapons disabled. We are defenseless." For the first time in his long military career, General Crickstall faced the possibility of defeat. These humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. "All ships, retreat to safe distance," he ordered reluctantly. But even as his fleet pulled back, Crickstall knew that this was no longer the easy conquest he had expected. Somehow, in just 3 weeks, these primitive humans had become a real threat to the Zephyrian Empire. The question now was not whether he could conquer Earth quickly, but whether he could conquer it at all. Admiral Sullivan watched the alien retreat from her command chair and allowed herself a small smile. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was finally ready to fight it on equal terms. 6 months had passed since what was supposed to be a 6-hour conquest began, and General Crickstall stood alone in his private quarters, staring at reports that made no sense. His invasion fleet had been reduced from 600 ships to less than 400. The humans were not only still fighting, they were pushing his forces back. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. "Enter," he called. Sub-Commander Veltar stepped inside, his scales showing the dull color that indicated stress among his people. "General, High Command is demanding another progress report." Crickstall crumpled the message pad in his claws. "What am I supposed to tell them? That these primitive humans have somehow matched our technology? That they fight with coordination we have never seen before? Perhaps we should request reinforcements," Veltar suggested carefully. "And admit failure? No Zephyrian general has ever needed reinforcements to conquer a single planet. The shame would destroy my family name for generations." What General Crickstall did not know was that Earth's forces were growing stronger every day. Dr. Helen Carter had made breakthrough in understanding alien biology and psychology. Her team had learned that Zephyrians were extremely vulnerable to Earth's common cold virus. But President Patterson had forbidden the use of biological weapons. "We defeat them with honor or not at all," she had declared. "We're better than that." Instead, Dr. Carter focused on psychological warfare. She had discovered that Zephyrian society was built on rigid hierarchy and absolute obedience. Individual thinking was discouraged, which made them predictable in ways they did not realize. Commander Lisa Hayes used this knowledge in her next operation. Her ships had been harassing a Zephyrian mining operation on Jupiter's moons, but this time she tried something different. "Attention Zephyrian miners," she broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Commander Hayes of Earth Forces. Your commanding officer has abandoned you. He has retreated to safe distance while leaving you to die. Is this the honor your empire promises?" The effect was immediate. The Zephyrian workers began arguing among themselves. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to surrender, and a few actually began questioning their orders. The confusion gave Lisa's forces the opening they needed to capture the entire mining facility intact. Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to admiral after his successful attacks on Zephyrian supply lines. His new assignment was even more dangerous, leading Earth's first offensive strike into alien-controlled space. "Remember, we're not trying to hold territory," he briefed his squadron commanders. "We hit their staging area hard and fast, then get out before they can respond." The target was a Zephyrian supply depot built on an asteroid in the outer system. Intelligence suggested it contained enough weapons and fuel to supply the invasion fleet for months. Jake's ships approached the asteroid, using an old human trick that the aliens had never encountered. They shut down their engines and drifted in like space debris, using the asteroid's own gravity to guide their approach. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, his tactical officer reported. "All ships, prepare for synchronized strike." The attack was devastating. 20 human ships fired everything they had at the same moment, overwhelming the depot's defenses completely. The explosion could be seen from Earth with a good telescope, but the real victory came from what they found in the wreckage. The depot contained detailed maps of Zephyrian territory, communication codes, and most importantly, intelligence about other alien species the Empire had conquered. "My God," Dr. Carter said as she studied the captured data. "They've destroyed dozens of civilizations. Entire species wiped out because they couldn't fight back effectively." President Patterson felt sick as she read the reports. "How many?" "At least 60 different worlds over the past century. The Zephyrians aren't just conquerors, they're genocidal maniacs." This knowledge changed everything for humanity. They were not just fighting for their own survival anymore. They were fighting to stop monsters who had been murdering entire species for fun. The news spread throughout Earth's military forces and had an immediate effect on morale. Every human soldier, pilot, and officer now understood that losing this war meant extinction not just for Earth, but for any future species the Zephyrians encountered. Major Sam Collins led the next phase of psychological warfare. Using captured Zephyrian communication equipment, his team began broadcasting the truth about their empire to alien forces throughout the system. "Zephyrian warriors, you fight for murderers," his messages declared. "Your leaders have destroyed 60 worlds, killed billions of innocent beings. Every battle you fight makes you part of this genocide. How many children's deaths are you responsible for?" The effect on alien morale was immediate and severe. Zephyrian discipline began breaking down as soldiers questioned the cause they were fighting for. Some units refused orders, others began surrendering without a fight. General Krickstall felt his command crumbling around him. His officers no longer obeyed without question. His soldiers whispered among themselves during duty shifts. Worst of all, some had actually begun to sympathize with their human enemies. "This is not how warfare is supposed to be," he complained to Veltar. "Enemies should surrender or die, not talk and argue and make us think. Perhaps that is why we are losing, General. These humans make us think about things we have never questioned before." The turning point came during the Battle of Europa. Admiral Kate Sullivan had positioned her fleet near Jupiter's ice moon and was preparing to attack another Zephyrian base when something unprecedented happened. "Admiral, we're getting a transmission from the alien base," her communications officer reported with surprise. "From their commander?" "No, ma'am. From their soldiers. They want to surrender." Sullivan stared at her view screen in shock. In 6 months of warfare, no Zephyrian unit had ever tried to surrender. They fought to the death or retreated, but they never gave up. "Put them through." The alien who appeared on screen was young for his species, with bright scales that marked him as a junior officer. He looked terrified but determined. "Human Admiral, I am Lieutenant Zektar of the 4th Engineering Battalion. My unit wishes to surrender." "We no longer wish to fight for the Empire. Why?" Sullivan asked carefully. "Because we have learned the truth about what we do. We are not warriors bringing order to the galaxy. We are killers destroying innocent life. We choose to stop." Behind the young officer, Sullivan could see dozens of other Zephyrians nodding agreement. An entire alien military unit was defecting to humanity's side. General Krickstall received word of the defection within hours, and it filled him with rage and shame. His own soldiers were abandoning him to join the enemy. The very idea violated everything he believed about Zephyrian honor and discipline. "This ends now," he declared to his remaining officers. "I challenge the human leadership to single combat. Winner takes all." But when he sent the challenge to Earth, the response surprised him again. Instead of mockery or refusal, Admiral Jake Morrison accepted immediately. "I accept your challenge, General, but not for conquest. For something more important. The winner decides whether this war continues or whether we find a better way to resolve our differences." For the first time in months, General Kriegstall felt something like respect for his enemies. These humans understood honor, even if they fought in ways he did not comprehend. The stage was set for a final confrontation that would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of both species. The ancient asteroid had been chosen as neutral ground for the final battle. Both fleets waited at a respectful distance while their champions prepared to fight. General Kriegstall stood in the center of the rocky surface, wearing his ceremonial battle armor and carrying weapons that had been in his family for generations. Across from him, Admiral Jake Morrison checked his human combat suit one final time. He carried no ancient weapons, just modern tools designed for this specific fight. But he carried something else that Kriegstall was only beginning to understand: the hopes and determination of an entire species that refused to surrender. "The terms are agreed," announced Sub-Commander Felter, serving as the Zephyrian witness. "Single combat to submission or death. The winner's species claims victory in this war." Commander Lisa Hayes spoke for humanity. "Terms accepted. May the best warrior win." The two champions faced each other across 20 meters of empty stone. For a moment, neither moved. General Kriegstall studied his opponent with new eyes. 6 months ago, he would have seen only a primitive creature with inferior technology. Now he saw something that made him feel uncertain for the first time in his military career. "You have surprised me, human," Kriegstall admitted. "I expected easy prey, but I found worthy opponents." Jake nodded respectfully. "You're not what I expected either, General. Your people fight with honor even when they're fighting for the wrong cause." "Wrong cause?" Kriegstall's grip tightened on his weapon. "We bring order to chaos. We unite the galaxy under one strong rule. You destroy civilizations and call it order. You commit genocide and call it unity. That's not strength, General. That's cowardice." The words hit Kriegstall like physical blows. No one had ever dared speak to him this way. His anger flared, but underneath it was something else. Doubt. "You know nothing of what we have accomplished," he snarled. "I know everything," Jake replied calmly. "We captured your records. 60 worlds destroyed. Billions of innocent people murdered. Children who never got the chance to grow up because your empire decided they were inconvenient." Kriegstall roared and charged forward, his ancient blade gleaming in the dim sunlight. Jake rolled aside and fired his weapon. A pulse of energy that struck the alien general's armor and sent him staggering. "Stand and fight like a warrior," Kriegstall demanded. "I am fighting like a human," Jake replied, dodging another attack. "We don't believe in fair fights when the stakes are this high." The battle raged across the asteroid's surface. Kriegstall was stronger and had centuries of combat experience, but Jake was faster and more adaptable. Every time the alien general thought he had cornered his opponent, the human found a new way to escape and counterattack. Meanwhile, on both fleets, soldiers watched the fight with growing tension. The Zephyrians had never seen their general struggle in single combat before. The humans had never seen their species' fate hanging on one man's ability to fight. Dr. Helen Carter watched from the bridge of the human command ship and noticed something interesting about the alien crew. They were not cheering for their champion. Instead, they looked troubled and uncertain. They're questioning everything they believed in, she realized. This war has changed them as much as it changed us. On the asteroid, General Kriegstall was beginning to understand why his conquest had failed. Every time he tried to use overwhelming force, Jake found a way to turn that strength against him. Every time he followed traditional tactics, the human did something unexpected. "How do you fight this way?" Kriegstall panted during a brief pause in combat. "Because we have to," Jake replied honestly. "For most of human history, we were prey animals. We survived by being smarter, faster, and more determined than creatures that could kill us easily. But you are warriors now. Why not fight with honor? This is honorable. I'm fighting to protect my family, my world, my species. There's no greater honor than that." The words made Kriegstall think about his own motivations. When had he last fought to protect something he truly cared about? When had conquest become more important than the people he was supposed to serve? The final exchange came when Kriegstall managed to pin Jake against a large boulder. His blade was at the human's throat, victory within his grasp. "Yield," he commanded. Jake looked up at him with no fear in his eyes. If you kill me, 10 more humans will take my place. If you kill them, 100 more will rise up. If you kill them, 1,000 will follow. We don't stop, General. We never stop. Crixtol stared down at his enemy and saw something that shocked him to his core. He saw himself, or rather, what he could have been if he had chosen to fight for protection instead of conquest. You would have made a good Zephyrian, he said quietly. And you would have made a good human, Jake replied for a long moment. The two warriors looked at each other with mutual respect. Then Crixtol did something that surprised everyone watching. He lowered his weapon. I yield, he announced. The silence that followed was deafening. No Zephyrian general had ever surrendered in single combat. It was unthinkable, impossible, shameful beyond measure. But as Crixtol helped Jake to his feet, he felt something he had not experienced in decades, peace with his conscience. My empire will strip me of rank for this, he said. Then don't go back to your empire, Jake suggested. Stay here. Help us build something better. The offer stunned every alien watching. Humans were inviting their enemy to join them, even after everything that had happened. Sub-Commander Veltar was the first to speak. General, if you are stripped of command, then I am no longer bound by Empire law either. One by one, other Zephyrian officers made the same choice. They had seen too much, learned too much to go back to their old ways of thinking. Within hours, nearly half of Crixtol's fleet had defected to humanity's side. The rest departed for Zephyrian space, but they carried with them questions about their empire that would eventually destroy it from within. President Patterson addressed both species in a broadcast that would be remembered for generations. Today, we have learned that enemies can become friends, that differences can become strengths, and that the greatest victory is not conquest but understanding. Former General Crixtol, now serving as humanity's advisor on galactic affairs, stood beside her as she spoke. His presence sent a message to the entire galaxy. Earth was not interested in conquest or revenge, but in building a future where all species could live in peace. The war is over, Patterson continued. But our real work is just beginning. We have a galaxy to heal, species to contact, and wrongs to make right. We will do this together, human and Zephyrian, as partners rather than enemies. In the months that followed, Earth's hybrid fleet began visiting worlds that the Zephyrian Empire had conquered. Instead of bringing weapons, they brought medical supplies, food, and the promise that the genocide was over. Jake Morrison, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, led these mercy missions with crews that included both humans and reformed Zephyrians. They found species that had been hiding in fear for decades, barely surviving on worlds stripped of resources by their conquerors. "We're here to help" became the most important phrase in galactic history, spoken in dozens of languages to creatures who had given up hope of ever hearing such words. Dr. Helen Carter established the Interspecies Cooperation Institute, where beings from different worlds could learn about each other and work together on common problems. Her first student was Crixtol himself, who proved surprisingly good at understanding alien psychology when he was trying to heal instead of conquer. Commander Lisa Hayes founded the Galactic Defense Force, a voluntary organization dedicated to protecting weak species from those who would exploit them. The GDF's motto, borrowed from an ancient human phrase, was simple: not on our watch. The alien general who had once laughed at Earth now spent his days teaching young humans and Zephyrians to work together. When asked about his greatest regret, he always gave the same answer: I regret that it took a war to teach me what these humans knew all along, that true strength comes not from what you can destroy, but from what you choose to protect. And across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for generations began to hope again, knowing that somewhere among the stars, humans and their allies stood ready to answer any call for help. The war was over, but the peace would last forever.